What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Mock Draft Guy YouTube channel. In today's episode, we are rolling right along with our 7-round team mock drafts for the 2023 NFL Draft. After the Vikings today, there are only 6 teams left in this entire series. I can't thank you guys so much for your continued support, all your feedback for this series, and I can't wait to do it bigger and better next year as we just continue to build upon year after year after year. So the Vikings are today. Interesting case that the Minnesota Vikings are. I think with their first round pick, there's a lot of different ways that they can go. This is a team that definitely needs some cornerback help, even after signing Byron Murphy. Maybe even some linebacker help. I don't know if they would do a linebacker this early, but you never know. Wide receiver is also in the conversation. I also like defensive line to be a sleeper in the first round here, depending on who falls to number 23. But the biggest thing I think what the Vikings should do, which I am not going to do today, is probably trade down. There's a huge gap between 23 and 87 that I think the Vikings need to recoup a couple picks there. I would like to see them recoup an early 3rd round pick, maybe a late 2nd round pick, something just to break up 23 and 87, and then maybe get something in between 158 and 211. But unfortunately, during this series, I don't do, in very rare cases, I'll do trades. I've only done one so far this entire year, and that was really more of a hypothetical than anything. Maybe next year I will dabble in the trade market as well. It's just so hard. I hope you guys understand. It's just so hard to determine and justify who trades where, why this team is trading down, why this team is trading up. I feel like I would just rather, and especially the draft compensation. I mean, the draft compensation is almost impossible to get right in any stretch of the imagination. So maybe next year I'll try and dabble. I really just kind of do picks just to get the trade through. I don't really worry about the draft compensation, but whatever that may be. I do think that Minnesota, if the board isn't falling the way that they want, I think they should definitely try and trade down and get some picks. But I'm not going to be doing that today. I'm going to take what the board gives me. And at number 23, the board was very, very kind to me, and I will show you right here. Calijah Kancey is still, Brian Branch is still on the board, but as you guys know, this is a series. And I do redraft some players here and there. When I draft someone, like I'll be honest with you and transparent with you guys, I drafted Calijah Kancey to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers way back when I did the Tampa Bay Buccaneers draft. But that was also in the middle of the 2nd round. I highly doubt that Calijah Kancey gets to the 2nd round. Usually when I see players like that I know are going to go higher, I'll usually just take them at a different spot. I mean, it is what it is. I say that I don't redraft players. I try my very best not to, but if a player like this falls into Minnesota's lap, I think they take him. Don't get me wrong. Harrison Phillips is pretty good. Dean Lowry was a nice signing, but with Ross Blacklock behind there as well, I'm just not in love with the interior defensive line depth that the Minnesota Vikings have right now. I like what they're doing on the outside. As of right now, they still have Zadarius Smith. They signed Marcus Davenport as well. So they added things here and there to get the pass rush a little bit better. Here's the thing about Calijah Kancey, though. Not only is he really good in pass rushing, he's great against the run as well. And that's something that is really, really valued for an interior defensive lineman in a 3-4. So I really think Calijah Kancey would be a home run pick if he's here at 23. Maybe not the most popular pick. I know a lot of people are going to want to go with a cornerback. Probably going to want to see who's left on the board for wide receivers. But I'll be honest with you guys. I've said it so many times before. I'll say it again. I'm really not high on this wide receiver class. I mean, there are some pretty good guys in there. Like I think Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, JSN. Those are good guys. Those are guys that are going to be solid number 2s. But no one blows me away as an elite number 1 type wide receiver. And I know that the Vikings don't necessarily need a number 1 type wide receiver, but we're going to address this a little bit later. As of right now, you get someone who is a dominant pass rusher and great against the run. I think that's exactly what the Minnesota Vikings need here at pick number 23 if Calijah Kancey is on the board. Then at pick number 87 for the Minnesota Vikings, I'm going to address the secondary here. Don't get me wrong. I really love the Byron Murphy signing. Tremendous value for what they got him for. I believe it was 2 years, $22 million. That's a number 1 type cornerback that you're getting there. They also have a Caleb Evans. They have Andrew Booth. So they have a really nice young nucleus of cornerbacks that they're slowly but surely gathering. Here's the thing. I still think that they need a little bit more versatility. I really, really like Travius Hodges-Tomlinson here at this pick. I think, first off, I think 93 is a little bit too low for him as a prospect rating. I think in real life, he'll probably be a late second, early third round pick. I think the one knock against him is his size. A little bit undersized. He's 5'8", 5'9", depending on what reports you read. A little light in the bridges as well. I believe 178 to 188 pounds, around that range. But this is a guy who has the versatility not only to start on the outside, as we've seen at TCU. He also has the versatility to play in the nickel, in the slot as well. And I think that that's something that he could bring to the table that the Minnesota Vikings don't have much of as of right now, is versatility in that secondary. Now, I know, but he runs a 4.41, so he could definitely keep up with the outside guys. He's a little bit undersized, but we've seen some guys in the NFL that are a little bit on the smaller side do well on the outside. And like I said, doesn't necessarily need to play on the outside. He has that slot versatility. And I think that will bode well for him, and it would definitely bode well for the Minnesota Vikings at this pick. So I'm going to knock out cornerback here at pick number 87 with Travius Hodges-Tomlinson. Then at pick number 119, I'm going to address the wide receiver position here. I don't think it's the biggest area of need. So I could see in the first round, if Jordan Addison or Quentin Johnston's on the board, that would be amazing to add to, TJ Hawkinson, KJ Osborne, Justin Jefferson, guys like that. Adding one of those deep vertical threats or a playmaker at the line of scrimmage would be excellent as well. But you don't need that number one type of guy. You honestly could use a number 3 option as of right now, because I think KJ Osborne really showed us something last year as possibly a really solid number 2 in the Minnesota Vikings offense. I mean, he has a clear rapport with Kirk Cousins in that excellent comeback against Indianapolis. He was exceptional in that game. I think that he's a solid number 2, number 3 option, but they need to get someone else. I really like Michael Wilson out of Stanford. His stock was interesting. It was up for a while at the Senior Bowl, then went back down with a disappointing showing at the 40-yard dash. 4.58 is not necessarily inspiring, but he's got really long arms. He's got big hands, 6'2", 213 pounds. Really gives the Vikings that versatility if they want to have, in some packages, KJ Osborne and Michael Wilson on the outside and have Justin Jefferson in the slot. I mean, he's unguardable as it is on the outside. Can only imagine trying to guard him in the slot. So it gives them some really nice versatility where they can move their pieces around the offensive scheme and the offensive huddle and all that kind of stuff. I think this would be a really, really nice addition for the Minnesota Vikings. I was really looking at someone like, who else did I have here? I had a couple guys in mind at this. Bear with me for a second. I had Jonathan Mingo at this pick as well. That's another guy, 6'2", 225 pounds, really strong, has good speed. That was another guy that I was considering, but he's been flying up draft boards lately, so I doubt that he would be here at 119. But a really good wide receiver that we kind of forgot about because of the combine was Michael Wilson. So I think this would be a really nice pick in round 4. Then at pick number 158 for the Minnesota Vikings, I'm going to look at the linebacker position. Getting rid of Eric Kendricks and then last year getting rid of Anthony Barr, we're kind of issuing a new era of linebackers in Minnesota. They picked up Jordan Hicks. I thought that was a pretty nice signing. They also are letting Brian Asamoah essentially be a starter this year. And I was really, really high on Brian Asamoah last year. And he showed some pretty decent flashes this year. He required a little bit of a development at the NFL level, but I think he's ready to start and he's going to shine. Behind that, I believe they have Troy Reeder and really not much else in the inside linebacker position. So I really like a nice depth piece here. I think Nick Herbig is someone that's going to have to make a transition, sort of kind of like Brian Asamoah, to the NFL level, but could be a real plus starter in a year or two. Here's a guy who's got 20 sacks from the inside linebacker position at Wisconsin. I really don't know what it is about these Wisconsin linebackers over the past couple of years. Leo Chenal, Jack Sanborn, all these guys, Micah McFadden, all had huge sack numbers at the inside linebacker position at Wisconsin. Nick Herbig is no different. 6'2", 240 pounds, runs in the 4.6s. I think that he'd be a really nice addition. He's going to have to translate his game more towards the NFL. He's not going to be rushing the passer as much. Has to get a little bit better in the consistency with the tackling department. But like I said, he's going to require a little bit of development. He plays here, he plays there. He'll be ready to step into a starting role maybe in a year or two. I think it would be a really nice depth and a really nice project piece. And worst comes to worst, you play him in a pass rushing scenario as well, and we know that he can get to the quarterback. 9 sacks 2 years ago, 11 sacks last year. There's a lot of different ways that you could implement Nick Herbig, and I think he'd be a good addition. Then with the Minnesota Vikings last pick at 211, I'm going to address the interior of the offensive line here. Ezra Cleveland at left guard, Ed Ingram at right guard, and behind them right now on the depth chart, there is no one. So some people in the comments are probably going to say, oh, you definitely needed to address offensive line earlier. You might be right about that as well, but I couldn't really argue with the players that I had on my board at the time. I really like John Gaines here. Someone that requires development at the NFL level, but you can't argue with the athleticism. 6'4", 303 pounds, ranked first among all guards at the NFL Combine in overall athleticism with a 96 score. Now, I know some people might think, they might scoff at that. Big deal. But at this point in the draft, you're looking at numbers like that. You're looking for long-term projects that you could potentially turn into gems. And I think John Gaines is one of those guys that's going to get overlooked throughout most of the draft. And round 6 and 7, a team's going to take a chance on him with good coaching. I think he could be a real asset at the next level. So I'm going to take John Gaines with the Minnesota Vikings last pick at 211. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. There is my full 7-round 2023 Minnesota Vikings mock draft. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Please leave a like. Please comment. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And thank you for watching today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I see you in the next one.